Thank you to all of you for joining this week's Stay Connected webinar. On behalf of the Get Connected Conference Planning Committee, I'd like to show appreciation for you taking the time to be here today. Brooke Tempel is going to present information today on mysteries, munchies, and messes with Nebraska Agriculture in the classroom. Thank you so much, Brooke, for sharing the resources that you have available for after school. We really appreciate your time and we're excited to hear all about it. So I'll let you go ahead.
Great, thank you. Thanks for having me join today. I'm going to go ahead and get started and share my screen here. Let's see. Can everybody see my screen? Okay, perfect. It's not highlighted on my end, so I couldn't tell if you could see my PowerPoint or not. But my name is Brooke Tempel, and I am an education specialist with the Nebraska Farm Bureau Foundation, and we host the Agriculture in the Classroom program across the state of Nebraska. And today our topics are going to include mysteries, munchies, and messes. All of our resources are free educator guides for you guys to pick up and use for your programs that you're hosting in the different ways here. So we're going to jump on in. If you guys have any questions, feel free to type them in the chat box, or you guys can unmute and ask your questions as we go throughout here. So to get started, the mission of the Nebraska Farm Bureau Foundation is to engage youth educators and the general public to promote an understanding of the vital importance that agriculture plays in the lives of all Nebraskans. So what we really focus on is introducing agriculture and making those connections to our communities and how that kind of relates to our everyday lives. And we manage the agriculture in the classroom program. So this is kind of where our programming comes into play. The focus of our Ag in the Classroom program is to provide resources to encourage active learning in the classroom that tie into hands-on activities for youth to use. And a lot of those resources relate and tie into Nebraska state education standards. So that's great for the classroom learning, but also helps supplement some of the learning you guys are doing in those classrooms as well, or in those after school clubs, programs like that. And then our goal is to equip you guys, the educators, with free programs and resources to use to bring agriculture alive in the classrooms or in the programs that you're leading. So today we're going to kind of see some of those activities here. I'm going to share 3 different club guides that we have available, and then I'm going to walk you through some of those activities and show you where you can find those on our website. And then as an educator, we also go into classrooms, programs, summer camps, and lead those activities for you. So if you're interested in a specific topic, different things like that, we're happy to come in. I will share that. We have 3 educators across the state. I'm located here in the Lincoln area, but we have an educator in the Omaha area, and then one that is out in North Platte now, which is really exciting. So we kind of cover the whole state. If you have specific needs, we're happy to kind of help lead those as well. So to get started, these are great fits for after school clubs, summer camps, and day camp opportunities as well. Just kind of whatever fits the best kind of programming needs that you guys have available here. To get started, we have 3 resource guides, and they're kind of like club packages where you guys can download them directly from our website, and it's easy for you to teach and implement into the classroom. This new one is called Lunchbox Mysteries. It's a series over here. Then we have Food Matters, and that one, and then Dirt Detective. So those are the 3 I'm going to highlight today. And then if there's specific topics, say you want to learn more about plants and pollination, we can kind of customize an activity guide for you guys where we could come in and lead those activities. But these ones today are really to showcase resources that you can pick up and use in the classroom as well. They're easy to lead, so they're all written out as a lesson plan guide. I will show you those here in a moment. All hands-on activities are incorporated. So it's a piece that you guys can lead and guide, and then there's a fun little activity that goes along with them. And then they all, again, align to state education content standards here. So the first one is Lunchbox Mysteries. It is best suited for younger elementary, so lower elementary learners, kindergarten through 2nd grade, but it's a great resource you could bring up to 3rd or 4th grade, even 5th grade. Everybody loves a story, and it comes with the snacking part, so all of the munchies that go along with it. It's a guide here. I have it printed out here, so it's easy for you to pick up and read. I'll direct you to the website here in a moment, but it has kind of an overview summary. And then as you flip through here, all of the content standards, background information here to lead those activities there. And some of those include a series. So this series ties into 8 stories. You can pick one lesson. It could be a standalone lesson where, say, you want to talk about dairy. So you could pick the ice cream, the full scoop, and that covers specific dairy lessons. You could read the story, and then at the end, you get to make ice cream in a bag, actually. And then there's extension activities. So depending on if you're leading a 1-day program or once a week, you could kind of do this as a guide there. Or you could say maybe you have a whole week and you can tie all of these together as one in there. But it focuses on 8 different stories in this series. You get to make the connection to locally grown food products here in Nebraska. And then they highlight all of these different food snacks. So they get to make a fun, tasty treat after they learn about the specific plants or topics grown here in Nebraska. So this summer we did one at the Lincoln Children's Museum, and we did this series, and they got to make butter in a jar after reading How Did That Get Into My Lunchbox? And I'll showcase that activity here towards the end, but it's a really fun, easy classroom activity for your students to pick up and use. Another one is ice cream in a bag. I'm sure maybe some of you have tried this activity before. There's lots of twists that you can add to it and make it kind of unique and make it your own as well. The next one is Food Matters, and this club guide really focuses on lower elementary as well, tying into the 5 food groups that they have, and then making those connections back to local producers here in Nebraska. Each lesson or activity guide ties into a local producer here in Nebraska that grows those foods. So they get to read a little short story about those local producers, make that connection to a apple producer here in Nebraska or a beef producer. This activity up here is called Give Me 5, and they could draw it out, or they have these little hands where they write down the 5 food groups and then incorporate daily exercise here. And then they flip it over and they get to make those connections to local foods grown here in Nebraska. So pancakes might be a food item they have for breakfast. It ties into the grains that we grow, because we do grow a little bit of wheat here in Nebraska. Then they make that connection. Maybe it's the steak that they're producing, and that comes from a beef cow. Farmers in Nebraska raise beef. So they get to make all of those connections together there. This bottom activity is really fun. This one is one of the activities that ties into this series. It's called Edible Plant Parts. And I took it to a summer program this last summer, and what they got to do is they get this little worksheet here, and it has the plants that we grow, where they come from. So they get to identify the seeds, the roots, the stems, the leaves, the fruits, and the flowers. I bought this little kit on Amazon, and it has different fruits and vegetables. So they get to identify their corn. What part of the corn plant do they eat? They eat the seeds. Maybe it's broccoli, where they're eating the actual flower of the plant, carrots, the stem. And then this is a green pepper or red pepper. They're actually eating the fruit of this plant, even though it's a vegetable. The fruit is the part of the plant that they're eating. And then I bought a little bit of leaves too, that they get to add in, talk about how we eat leaves, different parts of the plant there, making those connections to growing plants and raising those here in Nebraska. And then Farming in a Glove is this one down here. I'm going to make this connection to the Dirt Detectives activity that I'm going to showcase next, because that one you can talk about in this activity, the plants that grow here in Nebraska, what plants need to grow, making that connection to fruits, vegetables, grains, those types of things. Animals consume plants, providing us with food as well. Then the third guide that we have available on our website is called Dirt Detectives. This one really focuses on upper elementary. It's more of an advanced learning opportunity for these students, but the students get to investigate population growth in the world, and then their goal is to develop a plan to grow more food on the shrinking amount of soil through different STEM concepts. So this one really focuses on our soil. The first lesson that kind of introduces the topic, they get a ball of Play-Doh and they roll it up and they cut fractions of the world to discover how much soil is in the world first. And then the tiny fraction is the amount that we have to grow our food and provide those resources for our everyday daily needs. And then we dive in the second lesson into the different soil types, and they learn about Nebraska's soil that we have available. There's an activity where they do a soil dirt shake test. And so they get different soil samples. I have sand, silt, and then this one is clay, and they add water to them and they shake them up and learn about the different soil particles and what types of soil grow best. And across Nebraska, we have a variety of different soils. We have the sand hills and water drains really quickly out there. So we see a lot more cattle grazing there versus eastern Nebraska, where we have a mixture of clay, sand, and silt. And we can grow soybeans really well in eastern Nebraska, different types of products like that introduce why things grow where they do. Another one then focuses on the traits that we have available. So they get to do an activity that's called DNA extraction. And I will show you this one here in a little bit that I'm going to introduce a little bit closer up. But this activity talks about how we can look at the DNA of plants and we can alter their genes to maybe create a drought tolerant corn. So when we have a season of drought, those corn plants can continue to grow, or maybe those plants are weed resistant or weed tolerant, so they can still grow and not have to maybe spray as many herbicides onto those fields, kind of like that. And then we can talk about how different plants have different genes to prevent the browning of an apple or the browning of a potato, different things like that. So they get to look at those choices and traits there, talk about seed germination. So farming in a glove here, they get to make their seeds, watch them grow. This is a fun science activity where you could put half of the classroom in the sunlight and the other half in the dark. All of these seeds will still germinate and sprout, but they're going to look a little bit different, and they're going to discover that the ones in the dark cannot survive without those basic needs of those seeds there. And then they get to explore pollination in another activity. So over here on my screen, they get to explore self-pollination and understand that certain plants can self-pollinate if they have the perfect flower, like a soybean. But corn plants growing in our state really need the cross-pollination method. So they're learning about two different types of pollination as well. And then we build on that further, that plants and animals provide us with byproducts. So that lesson number 7 looks at different byproducts that agriculture provides for us. A fun one is they get to create corn plastic, which is a byproduct from corn. We use different plastics in our everyday lives. We can make the connection back to the clothing that we wear, the furniture in our homes, the crayons they're coloring with in their programs, different things like that, that tie into our everyday lives and make that overall connection that agriculture doesn't just provide us with food, but it provides us with our basic needs that we're using every day. So this activity, they created a corn plastic using corn starch, corn oil, a little bit of water and food coloring, and then you microwave it and it turns it into a plastic. And instead of putting it just in this bag, we have different molds that they can use and create different products that they can take back into their classrooms or even home with them as well. So I'll showcase a few of these resources here in a moment. But this one here, let's get started with that. Can you see me, or should I stop sharing my screen so I'm a little bit bigger? on your screen. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing for now and I should come back up here, I believe. And we're going to look at the wheat DNA. So this one is a part of the Dirt Detective series, upper elementary. And you can buy these kits. I'll show you where you can buy and order these kits online. I originally bought the kits and then I replaced my supplies just from Amazon from a quick little order here. But they come with this little test tube. And all you need then to complete this activity is wheat germ. And I found this brand works the best for me, just from my local grocery store here in town. But you put 1/4 of a teaspoon of wheat into this container, and then you mix it with 4 drops of just dish soap and a little bit, I believe you put a tablespoon of water in here. The instructions all come together in this kit as well. And then after it sits for about 5 to 10 minutes, you can add a tablespoon of rubbing alcohol, and it actually extracts the DNA from wheat. So if you take a look up here, you can kind of see it's floating in here. I actually got the best results with this one because I let it sit actually overnight, and you can really see it kind of floating around in there a little bit. I did one last night to create an example, and we make a DNA necklace with it. So then you get these little test tube things, and you can take a little eyedropper and you can extract the DNA that you can see kind of floating in here. And then you just put a little bit of a string and you can wear it as a necklace. And the kids get to actually take that DNA home and talk about how they learn that all plants and living things have DNA. And we can look further at that DNA to create drought tolerant plants, seeds that are resistant to different insects, weeds, herbicides, different things like that. So we can kind of look at that overall process. And that one's really fun to make that connection back to the choices that we have. And we can make those choices as consumers and as people who are in the production process of agriculture there. The next one that I'm going to showcase over here is corn plastic. So this one also ties into the Dirt Detective series. And I showed you this. I made a little corn cob up here. You can kind of see there's a little bit of detail there. I ordered these molds on Amazon. You can make fun ones. We have pigs, we have corn, we have all sorts of different things. But you take a plastic bag and you add a tablespoon of cornstarch and a tablespoon of water and a couple drops of corn oil, and then just a couple drops of food coloring of your choice. And then you mix it in your bag here. And this bag right here then is ready to pour into that mold. You can microwave this too if you don't have molds that you want to use, and it will just create the hard plastic there. It's very hot when they pull it out of the microwave, so just be careful that you're handling it or you instruct the kids to grab it from the top here as they microwave. Otherwise, if it's in the mold, same process. It's pretty hot when it comes out, but you will have your mold here at the end. The best suggestion I have when making these corn plastics is to let them sit out in the air. And if you put them in a Ziploc bag when they get home, they can kind of mold a little bit. So if you leave them out, they look great. They haven't molded, and the kids can keep it as kind of a keepsake to refer back to the byproducts that come from agriculture there. All right, I have a couple more I want to share. The next one, some of you may have seen before. It's farming in a glove. And so the kids get a plastic glove. A lot of these come from like those kitchens, prep kitchens, different things like that. I always start by having the kids write their name on their thumb so that they can take it home. And then they write down 4 seeds that are produced here in Nebraska. So the 4 seeds that I typically use are the crops that we grow here in Nebraska. We grow soybeans, so we'll add a soybean seed to that, corn seeds. We grow wheat here in Nebraska, and then the final one that I selected was dry beans. Dry beans grow in western Nebraska. They grow in different climates than the soybean seeds do here in Nebraska. But what they do then, they get 4 cotton balls in a little cup of water, and they dip their cotton ball in the water, and then they squeeze it back out. You know what happens when you overwater a plant? It doesn't like to grow very well. So if you give it a good squeeze so it's not dripping wet, then they will place those in those 4 fingers here, and then they can plant there's 1 seed typically in each bag. The instructions are there, so it shows you how to walk it right through. You put a little string on the bag. You can hang it up in the window or in a dark place, and you can kind of do a science experiment there. And then those seeds will start to grow, and you can talk about plant needs. Why do plants grow better in the sunlight versus a dark setting? Kind of engage in a deeper conversation that way. And then the last one I wanted to show you a little bit more up close is butter in a jar. And this one's really fun for that activity. What you get here is I use the condiment cups rather than a baby food jar. I've done them both. They both work great. They're just a little bit less of a mess to clean up. So you can use this. I just get regular whipping cream from the grocery store. I pour about that much into it. So 1/3 of that container is whipping cream. And then I make sure the lid is placed on and has been sealed tightly. And then I always put it in a Ziploc bag to prevent more of a mess in the classroom. And then I just have the kids kind of hold on to that lid. And then if they continue to shake it, if they shake for about 5 minutes, depending on the consistency, they will get butter at the end. And it will look like butter. So I'm going to try my best not to spill. What I'm going to do first is drain off. So it will have buttermilk actually in that container. This is when you know you will have your complete butter. The buttermilk will be in this container then, and then you are left, let's see here, with butter. And it's really fun. I usually use crackers, but in the story for Lunchbox Mysteries, they talk about eating a sandwich. And so this activity would be great if you had a slice of bread or something that they could enjoy the activity with as well. But they get to make it up close. You could add a little salt to it if you would like. Maybe you add cinnamon and put it on a roll and it's cinnamon butter, different things like that. Super fun activity to engage food, snacks, different things like that. Okay, I'm going to jump back up here. I saw there's a question in the chat box about, is there a master list? That would be a great idea for me to create a whole list so you have all of the supplies in one sheet. But let me show you here. I'm going to go back up to sharing my screen for you there. And I'm going to show you where these are located. So we saw wheat DNA, corn plastic, farming in a glove, and butter in a jar as kind of our preview activities. These are all guides on our website. So if you go to Nebraska Farm Bureau Foundation.org, NEFBfoundation.org, it will pull up our website here. And our website has all of these fun tabs. There's a lot of resources free for all of you guys to use. So if you have more time, feel free to check it out even further. But if you go to the resources tab, you can click on it. Otherwise, under instructional resources here, there are camp and club guides. And these were those 3 clubs that I talked about. They're meant to be a standalone activity. You can use it as a guide as well and create like a series. Maybe you meet once a week, or you meet for a whole entire week and you do one theme there. But you can click directly on these lessons. They'll download the lesson. You could download these. This first one, Food Matters and Dirt Detectives, have kind of a PowerPoint that go along with it. You can use it as a visual aid, or you don't have to use those PowerPoints either. They just kind of are there to guide you through the lessons and activities. But if I click on, say, this Lunchbox Mysteries, the full scoop, the lesson plans are written out for you. It kind of has like a time guide of how long this activity could take, what the students will be doing, the purpose. And then down here, these are where all of those materials are listed for what you will need. So if you want to just do a specific activity or a lesson, if you just click on the lesson plan, it'll pull up all of the materials that are needed for those activities, along with kind of how these are structured out is background information. This is for you if you might not have a whole lot of knowledge in the agriculture background. It provides the information that you need to pick up and lead those activities there. So kind of just some information about the topic, there's an interest approach, and then you read the story. It has questions as you go throughout that you can follow up with. Then they get to make, this one is the ice cream in a bag activity. They get to do that activity as a class, snack, and then there's follow-up questions and tying it back to agriculture and to our lives here in Nebraska. And we also provided extension activities. So these are additional resources that tie into your topics that you're learning about. Some of them are stories, some of them are additional lessons that you can pick up and use as well. So if I click on this one, I believe it's choices. This is the DNA one. And it's written out similar. It has the standards that are aligned to it. Activity snapshot, materials again here. Some of these, note that if there's these little asterisks, there are kits available for you guys to purchase directly for a specific activity here. That is found on the Nebraska or the National Agriculture in the Classroom Matrix. And let me take you to that here really quick. So their website is just called agclassroom.org. And they have a tab called store. And if you click on that store, you can search some of these kits. These are also really great kits to use if you're looking to add something into your classrooms or programs as well. But if I just type in DNA here, it'll pop up with that DNA wheat germ kit. There's a refill kit as well. It provides, it explains everything that it provides you with that you can use, but they'll send it directly to your location, different things like that. If we come in and teach, most of those resources we have available that we'll just bring those along with us, and we can lead that activity for your classroom there. So again, that's on our website here. If you go to Nebraska Farm Bureau Foundation.org, it's nefbfoundation.org. And we'll post it and share it for you guys to access as well. But you can download all of those guides. What I like to do, I have them in a little binder. I printed them off. This one has the overall summary to it, but then they're just listed right here. And you have them, you can pick and choose the ones you want to lead and use there as well. Okay. So there's our website listed here. As a reminder, the 3 kits we talked about today, Lunchbox Mysteries, I guess they're more of a guide series. It's not a kit because we provide you with the lesson plans to use those, and then the materials are listed out for what you would need for those activities there. So the guides are provided on our website, those 3, 2 lower elementary, 1 upper. You can flex them around to fit your needs as well, but they're easy to lead. They're meant to be an interactive, hands-on learning opportunity, and they all align to those state education standards that those students are learning in their classrooms. And so just as a reminder here, this is my last page, and then if you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out, answer. I'd be happy to answer those. But here are our 3 educators. Again, I'm Brooke, and I'm located here in the Lincoln area and cover kind of the central region of Nebraska, Kearney, Grand Island. And then we have a new educator in the Omaha area, Katie Cora. She will cover the Omaha region of educators there. So feel free to reach out to her. And then we have a new educator in the North Platte area. This is Emily Kammerer. She's currently our Omaha educator, and she will be transitioning out to North Platte starting January 1st. So we're really excited to kind of expand and have educators across the state to help you guys. Feel free to reach out to us. We'd love to lead any of these activities. We also have specific camps and clubs, after school programs that we can come and kind of tailor to your needs as well. So feel free to reach out to us, or if you want to reach out to me and I can get you in contact with the person that would be best in your area, I can do that as well. Are there any questions about the guides that we have available or the resources for you guys to pick up and use? If you have any, you can unmute yourselves. Feel free to ask. Otherwise, you can type it in the chat box as well.
These all seem like such engaging activities for after-school summer programs. And I just love that you're able to support, if it's the first time they've implemented the activities, you're able to be there and help with that
Yeah, absolutely.
implementation. Yes, but, excellent.
Yeah, we
Excellent
try to
resource.
offer all of our programs for you guys for free. So it's easy for you guys to pick up and implement. And so we have a lot of great donors that have supported our programs. So we're able to provide those for your students across the state.
And all the great ties to Nebraska agriculture, of course, but
Yeah,
really
and
interesting.
we really try to focus on that hands-on piece, so it's fun and engaging for kids to learn and kind of take those back to their communities and implement agriculture that way.
I learned a lot just from your presentation today. I didn't know about corn plastic. Probably have it all around me, even now. Well, thank you so much, Brooke, for your time. If nobody has any other questions, we will post the recording to this webinar on our Stay Connected site and make sure that we post the contact information for Brooke, Katie, and Emily. Your PowerPoint will be there. And again, thank you so much for.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Kim. I really appreciate it. And feel free to reach out if anybody has any questions. I'm happy to help and guide you in the right direction and get you the resources for you guys to use. So thank you so much, Kim.
We will definitely stay in touch. And our next Stay Connected is in 2 weeks, and we have Kate Goddard from the Education Development Center, and she's going to share resources, health equity resources. So that'll be an interesting webinar as well. So we'll see you in a couple weeks, and thanks everybody for joining. Thanks, Brooke.
Thank you.
Nice job.
Kim, do you have a second?
Yeah.
After you stop the recording?
Yes. Let me stop the recording.
Hey,